Hello, friends. I have another fabulous rotten article for you today. It comes from Science Direct. It is in the Environmental Research Department. It is another new one that has come out the 15th of January this year, 2024. And its title is Endocrine Disruptors, Unveiling the Link Between Chemical Exposure and Women's Reproductive Health. The abstract says this: the endocrine disrupting chemical, or EDC, is any compound that disrupts the function of an endocrine system in humans and is ubiquitous in the environment, either as a result of natural events or through anthropogenic activities. And I apologize again if I'm not saying these things right, and I'm not a paid scientist. But here you can read some of the chemicals, pesticides, and some heavy metals, which are frequently found in the pharmaceutical, cosmetic, and packaging sectors, are some of the major sources of EDC pollutants. EDCs have been identified to have a deteriorating effect on the female reproductive system, as evidenced by the increasing number of reproductive disorders such as endometriosis, uterine fibroids, polycystic ovary syndrome, premature ovarian failure, menstrual irregularity, menarche, and infertility. Studying EDCs in relation to women's health is essential for understanding the complex interactions between environmental factors and health outcomes. It enables the development of strategies to mitigate risks, protect reproductive and overall health, and inform public policy decisions to safeguard women's well-being. Healthcare professionals must know the possible dangers of EDC exposure and ask about environmental exposures while evaluating patients. This may result in more precise diagnosis and personalized treatment regimens. So get your personalized treatments. Designer is the word they use, a designer treatment. This review summarizes the existing understanding of prevalent EDCs that impact women's health and involvement in female reproductive dysfunction, and underscores the need for more research. Further insights on potential mechanisms of actions of EDCs on female have been emphasized in the article. We also discuss the role of nutritional intervention in reducing the effects of EDC on women's reproductive health. EDC pollution can be further reduced by adhering to strict regulations prohibiting the release of estrogenic substances into the environment. Stop doing that. The introduction reads, endocrine disrupting chemicals, or EDCs, are substances that can potentially interfere with the endocrine system, which controls hormone production of the body. These substances can imitate, obstruct, or otherwise interfere with hormones' ability to act normally, which can harm health. EDCs pose a global problem of great concern for humans as well as the environment. Endocrine glands produce hormones which control the development of normal growth, fertility, and reproduction in humans. Both developmental and biological activity can be disrupted by the irregularities in the supply of hormones to the body when exposed to EDCs. EDCs enter the human system through dermal, inhalation, or ingestion process in general. As most of EDCs are known to target nuclear receptors and non-nuclear steroid hormone receptors, orphan receptors, and pathways involved in the biosynthesis of steroids, they are much more complex than previously thought. EDCs have become ubiquitous and are commonly found in air, water, and soil with the rapid advancement in urbanization. Thereby, protection of environment and the humans from EDCs has become a worldwide task. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, EDCs are the erogenous agents that interfere with the synthesis, secretion, transport, metabolism, binding action, or elimination of natural blood-borne hormones that are present in the body and or responsible for homeostasis, reproduction, and developmental processes. That's from 1999. Exposure to EDCs have negatively impacted humans by causing aberrant growth, reproductive, and neurological problems. These negative impacts, however, proceed to future generation, making it more alarming. They're preceding future generations. It is alarming. Hence, who has warranted who has warranted to maintain strict control measures to minimize the exposures of EDCs in humans. The National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey biomonitoring data of non-persistent EDCs such as parabens, phenols, phthalates, show that women are frequently exposed to many chemicals found in personal care products at higher levels than men, probably as a result of their much larger use of personal care products. EDCs have huge impacts on women's reproductive outcomes. For example, delayed puberty, the onset of breast cancer in young women, infertility, irregular menstrual, fibroids in uterus, difficulty in conceiving, and complications in delivery. We got BPAs, more of these. I'll just highlight them. Pesticides like DDT, chloros, and pharmaceutical agents are frequently present in EDCs that have a prominent role in the food chain. And that's where we seem to see. So eat your cornflakes. These toxic chemicals have been identified in human adipose tissue as well as bodily fluids such as milk, amniotic fluid, urine, and serum. For example, DDT can transform into DDE, and both chemicals persist in fatty cells of the human body. Similarly, the placenta and breast milk can transmit persistent organic pollutants, or POPs, to the developing offspring. The fetus exposure to POPs can cause adverse health impacts such as carcinogen and mutagen responses, neurophysiological effects, learning disorders, behavioral problems, increased aggressiveness, and fine and gross motor coordination. Infants and developing fetuses are especially more vulnerable to endocrine dysregulation. Further, scientists are still conducting investigations to clarify the innate relationship between EDCs and the female reproductive system. As young women's pubertal ages decline, which is called precocious puberty, as we're learning, they encounter several issues, such as uterine fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, infertility, and breast cancer, which are expected to happen because they're being exposed. So when they become adults, we can expect this. So get your money into the research now, guys. This is a great opportunity. A great population of people are regularly exposed to several endocrine disruptors. However, the effects become apparent only later in life. Additionally, in some circumstances, these effects may last for several generations, and be inherited. EDCs cannot simply be disregarded or eliminated. Rather, the exposure window and risk factor must be managed with more thoughtful choices. The goal of this article is to present an overview of epidemiological factors, the underlying mechanisms, and the need for additional studies to improve our understanding of how EDCs affect women's reproductive health and the implications caused by them. And so here are some section snippets. Common endocrine disruptors that affect women's health. EDCs are pervasive in natural settings as they are in a wide range of products, such as packaging for food and beverages, pharmaceutical products for personal care, pesticides, fungicides, plastics, adhesives, and plasticides, electronic components, industrial solvents, and surfactants, and the list continues by the dots. The breast cancer risk. Several chemicals have been linked to a rise in mammary gland tumor incidence from 2007. Although our knowledge of these chemical mechanisms of action is still incomplete, the chance of developing breast cancer is thought to grow throughout important developmental windows, notably during the pubertal and prenatal stages. Jesus Christ, if you're following along, that should scare the fuck out of you. An elevated incidence of breast cancer has been indicated in daughters having mothers who were exposed to these EDCs, like DES, in fact, and it goes on. EDC, exposure and pregnancy. According to Boyles, exposure to EDCs is one modifiable lifestyle factor that increases a woman's vulnerability to environmental stresses during pregnancy. Ovarian function and EDCs. Many studies using mammalian models have shown that EDC alters follicle dynamics at the level of gonadotropin receptors, gonadotropin receptors in rat granulosa cells, HPTE, and some other kind of organ chlorine pesticide, significantly inhabits progesterone and LH receptor expression. Furthermore, dioxides like these can negatively affect the expression and stability of the LH receptor transcripts in cultured rat granulosa cells. Can continue reading. Molecular mechanisms of endocrine disrupting chemicals. Estrogens play a key role in the growth of several primary and secondary reproductive activities, including the control of menstruation and reproduction, development of breast tissue and reproductive organs, brain activity, mobilization of cholesterol, and inflammatory reactions. Estrogen also stimulate the development of epithelial cells in the mammary glands and uterine endometrium during adolescence. And the placenta's release of estrogens during pregnancy primes the mammary glands. So this is happening during the placenta. Within the placenta. The role of nutritional intervention in reducing the effects of EDCs on women's reproductive health. To reduce dietary exposure to endocrine disruptors, researchers have found strong evidence to advocate consuming organic foods, avoiding plastics, and avoiding canned food and beverages. Canned foods and beverages. Is there a chemical sprayed inside the can? Yes, there is. And what's really interesting about that right there is that right now they're encouraging people to stockpile on canned foods. If you ever look at any of these prepper channels, they talk a lot about quick, easy, long-lasting foods that are just full of these things, not to mention the inside of the cans that are sprayed with these, and they sit and they just continue to leach all of your water bottles and all of this. Stock your water bottles, and leaching. High quality data supports a variety of interventions. I mean, is there even food in glass jars anymore? How hard is it to find that? It's almost always in a plastic jar. High quality data supports a variety of interventions, such as avoiding fast food, iodine supplementation, vegetarian diets, fatty fish diets, changing personal care products, removing dust, and changing fish feed. The use of glass or stained glass, steel bottles and containers, cardboard, etc. So the conclusion, due to their vast use, man-made chemicals are now part of our daily lives and come from a variety of sources. We must pay close attention to the substances since they can prevent both men and women from reproducing normally. The main EDCs having impacts on reproductive health in both men and women include, and they list some things. Given the evidence for detrimental effects on fertility and general health, exposure to certain EDCs such as pesticides, BPA, and the declaration of competing interests, the authors declare that they have no known competing financial interests or personal relationships that appear to influence their work. Here are the references, the dates on these references: 2018, 2006, 2004. We got a 20-year study in 2008. We've got some 2013 UK pregnant women and cognitive outcomes in their children, and that's a longitudinal study, which means that it was done over a while. Some 2013. They've been at this a minute. A multifaceted danger, 2017. Contamination in women with breast cancer, 2004. Diet and uterine myomas, 1999. Induction of endometriosis in mice, 1995. And there are more references. And here's a couple articles that have already cited this. So that's a very scary article. Let me know what you think. The link is in the description if you want to check it out yourself. Read it, follow some of that. You can actually go read it. I only read the quick, that was just a little bit of it. So you have to download the paper if you want to read it in its entirety. But I think it told me all I needed to know.